Hi. Shukran, thank you for your patience. I hope you enjoyed the meal that was served. But it's not the end of the program. It's definitely not the end of the evening. We now come to another highlight of the evening. And I know I'm going to be wrapped over the knuckles for doing this. But we have so much talent and resources within our communities. And I need to introduce Muhammad Ali, who's a journalist. He worked for SABC, the BBC. He also wrote a book. He's currently writing another book, The History of the Rugby of City and Suburban. And he's going to be part of the Q&A session. He and I, we will share the platform with Vinny. The next, Muhammad, if you can come, we'd appreciate that. And then now we need to introduce Vinny. Vincent Barnes is one of our best, if not the best, bowler that the Western Province Cricket Board had in those years. And whenever we toured with the province team, wherever in the country we landed, the first question was asked, speel Vinnie en speel Faik. That's always the question. But Vinnie het altyd gespeel. Faik het altyd gespeel. En was het by Western Province deservedly just ran over Natal and Transvaal. The only unit that can give us some competition was Eastern Province. The other two provinces, the matches finished in a day and a half with 2 Vinnie. Eastern Province finished in 3 days. And the matches were 3 days. Vincent Barnes was also a football player, played for Batswood. He had a lethal right foot. He was a penalty and a free kick specialist at the time. He then went over, when unification came, Vinnie became the Proteas bowling coach. And he progressed and he served there. He was also manager of the High Performance Center in Pretoria, where he nurtured and produced many a player. And I think I'm going to ask Muhammad to give a bit of a brief bio of Vinnie, because Muhammad, as a journalist, will probably know more. And the latest one that I know was that Vinnie, I wish you well with your academy, which you've just started, your bowling academy. And it was heartwarming to see the support you got from in the Hanover Park area. And I commend you for that, for going into the townships. And Vinnie is also connected with Ashwell Prince in Prince's Foundation. Muhammad, if you can.
I think you've said just about everything. I think we need to get Vincent up here and he'll tell us the rest.
You can take it.
You can have a seat, Mr. Barnes.
You can have a seat.
You don't mind me calling you Vinnie, eh? Everybody knows you as Vinnie.
No problem.
Vinnie, thanks very much indeed for your time and for honoring us with your presence this evening. I'm sure if you look around the room and if you look closely at some of the people, you'll probably still see some of the scars that they bear from facing you. The first I heard of Vincent Barnes was probably in 1977 when you played in the Western Province schools team, a very powerful schools team then, and the SA schools team as well. How did it all start for you? You know, playing cricket. What attracted you to the game, and how did you become the quick bowler that you and the cunning bowler that you became, especially in an era where there was no coaching?
Good evening, and it's an absolute privilege and honor to be here tonight with so many of my fellow teammates, guys who I played with and against over the many years. And so, yeah, no, when Shafika called me to be a part of this, and obviously a few delays in the actual event, I was always honored to do this, and I'm glad to be here tonight. But yeah, it started. I was always a footballer. I played a bit of cricket in the road, and it was only really when a couple of my neighbours moved in, Adib Abrams and Aslam Khaland, that they introduced me to proper cricket. They took me to Victoria Cricket Club. And I started quite late. I mean, I started at the age of 13, but I could bowl quick. I was feared in every road with a tennis ball. So, and yeah, so that's where I started and moved through my career, played a few years, and funny enough, I always played on the B side. I played on the 14B and the 16B, and then moved probably into the senior. I was 16 years old. I played in the senior, Victoria senior side, and some real old bullies there who I had no idea. I mean, they'd come and pick me up and take me to cricket, and my mom would be worried. My mom and dad would be worried about because they didn't know about going home after a game, so I'd get home late that night. And but yeah, well, that's my introduction to cricket, and see so many of the players who played in that era who were my heroes, the Majids and lefties, and the Primrose, where we played at the district as well. So introduction to the first team was a bit of a baptism of fire to me. But yeah, that's really where it started.
Now, in an era where there was absolutely no coaching, I mean, people, it was learning or stealing with the eye, as they say. Who did you learn from? You say you were. I mean, we know you were very quick. Where did that pace come from? There was no such thing as going to the gym and things like that to hone your skills.
Yeah, I never. Funny enough, I never went to a gym. I think it was just. I actually didn't know what I was doing really as a bowler. I just bowled as quick as I could. My body would allow me to do it, and as I said to you earlier, if I had myself as a coach back then, it would probably be different. But it took me a long time to find things out and understand things, and it was really only when I got into the province team as a young 17-year-old and bowling with two Majid brothers and lefty, and so you got to understand the game a lot more. You'd open the bowling, and then the second spell, the one side of the ball would be pink. You can't understand why. And I
nothing to do with bottle tops and
no, never. But yeah, look, it was getting an understanding of bowling, and Johnny Kleinveld, the late Johnny Kleinveld, always claims that he taught me how to bowl and taught me how to hold the ball, and I'll give him that credit. That's fine. But yeah, look, we didn't have coaches, and just a lot of discussions, chats. I know. Ghulam Ali was my neighbour for many years in Wynberg, and he had a shop there, and we chat about cricket and the art of reverse swing, things like that, which we didn't understand what was happening, but we knew how to do it. We knew how to get the ball into that shape. But so yeah, look, it's only then when I always felt that as a player, I wanted to add. I would like to give something back, and some of the stuff that I've learned of the game, and so at the early age, I really wanted to give something back from a coach, as a coach, because we weren't coached. I think all the cricketers in here, I saw Baby also here, and Sali, and we all taught ourselves.
Now, you played in an era as well where, the young people probably don't know what a gravel wicket and a matting wicket is. It was a gravel wicket with a green Koya mat, and Rosmid A was particularly quick and bouncy. Yeah. And there was one incident where you felled Aqeel's grandfather. Tell us about that, Said Majid. Yeah,
Rosmid was a demon. Yeah, look, let me first put this to bed, right? So all my provincial wickets was on grass, okay? Because a lot of people think that we played provincial cricket on. The older guys did. I didn't play one provincial match on a mat, but we did play club matches, and I was this young tearaway fast bowler bowling for Victoria against the great Primrose side and Rosby Day, and funny enough, in that game we declared we declared in the game, we always declared 9 down. Dus Charlie van Skalkwyk, captain, is gezegd, gaan niet betten winnen. Hulle gaan je doodmaken en seer maken. So you don't bet. And we declared and we followed on in the game. But anyway. It wasn't about say it took off of a length and it did out on the side of his face. And, I was absolutely distraught as a bowler because I'm a young lady. And so I went through and see how he was. And captain said, "Gaan weg, Stado. Get to the top of your run up and get away from here." You know, he didn't want me to feel sorry for Said. So, and there Said was lying for a long time and eventually got up and face was swollen and because he didn't bat with a helmet. And
there were no helmets at that time.
I think there were scooter helmets. Sometimes better scooter helmets, but anyway. So end of the game, I walked around, and in fact, Said was also walking towards me, to come and tell me. Okay, like you know, I had a full go at me. Kyk hoe lyk my man. And I'm here. I'm a 17-year-old youngster, and I'm distraught. I'm so sorry. Lady, I'm so sorry. You know. But that was Said, and I hit him a few times though. But you know, I mean, he got up and continued in the game, and I didn't cut him open. It just had a big. I mean, his face was twice the size. But yeah, so. Yeah, the mat was vicious, and I'm glad I didn't bat too many times in it.
Looking, I mean, you've been around international venues now. You played on turf wickets. Just looking back now, what 40 years ago, playing under those conditions at Rosmead A, and I mean the other matting wickets, no helmets, pads with thin bats. Would today's cricketers, I mean, even your international cricketers, your top batsmen, would they play under? Would they?
Absolutely not. I mean, if we go into a net and one ball pops in a net, I'm talking about international cricket, one ball pops in a net, batters walk out, and then one throw downs because they're not going to bat in it. We didn't have that choice, and we just carried on.
Was it almost suicidal if you think back now?
Yeah, absolutely.
People laugh, but it's actually
absolutely. You know, I mean, I did hit a few guys, and I'm so sorry whoever I hit. And,
I mean, Baby Diamond is there. He would have hit a few guys. Sally Green would have hit a few guys.
I've got a cutting at home of Shadley Martin being wheeled off Rosmead in a wheelbarrow. So I really am sorry for that.
No, it's actually surprising that more people didn't get hurt playing under those.
A lot of guys got hurt. I mean, Vaughan did Vaughan play for Permission?
Yeah, yes.
Vaughan. I hit Vaughan as well, and I mean that. I sound like a sadist here, but I really am not. I'm a really good guy, and it's my job. I had to do the job whenever I got the ball from Skalkwyk, or whether it be lefty or Taman with Mark Doodbany. So that was my job. But yeah, look, it was tough. If it wasn't laid down properly, or the gravel leveled, then it could be dangerous. But it's just amazing how players could adapt to it. I'm talking about the batters.
You played in a very good Victoria side that won the league in 1980-81.
Yeah.
The likes of yourself, Johnny Kleinveld, Rashad Masson, Keith Lombard, late Michael Doman,
Eddie Harris. Yeah. Neil Fortune. Yeah, we had a very strong side.
And I mean, as you say, Primrose had almost half the provincial team. United had won the league before, and these youngsters come along.
Yeah, look, we won the league. Finally won the league. We were playing. I mean, for years, Primrose dominated, and we beat them, and it was a good hiding. I think I took 14 wickets in the game. So it was a good hiding for them, and I was really, really thrilled and chuffed, because they're my provincial teammates now. And but then my last game, funny enough, for Victoria, I moved to Montrose after that. And but yeah, we had great battles.
Tell us the secret about going to Montrose, because you obviously didn't know anybody at Montrose. And here's a guy at Victoria taking all the wickets.
It was tough. It was tough. It was tough to leave. I'd received a couple of guys who'd come to my house and asked me if I was keen to come and play for Montrose. And in that year, the year before that, we'd had a terrible game against Montrose. There was some terrible umpiring, and we lost the game. a one-day game. And so here we are. I'm going to the club where, we had this trouble against, and so it wasn't pleasant leaving Victoria. But that was it. And
The fruit bowls must have been stocked.
Excuse me?
The fruit bowls must have been well stocked.
Oh, yeah.
Bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the
But
bananas.
yeah, look, I mean, I then joined a Montrose side, and over the years, grew strong and strong, a very good side, and then formed, like Primrose and Victoria had formed most of the provincial players. Then it was now Montrose filling up probably 6-7 players, and the rest were Primrose. So and it, can't remember how many years, probably 7-8 good years at Montrose.
What was it?
I just want to say this though, the rivalry between Victoria and Primrose was one thing. Going to Montrose, there was it was completely different. The rivalry now changed from Victoria and Primrose now to United, Ottomans, Primrose. This was became quite hectic.
What was it like? I mean, as the steeraway youngster playing with experienced guys like Rusty Majid, Defty Adams, Prema Isaacs, Georgie van Oort, Said Majid. I think you and Michael were the two youngsters in the team.
Yeah, so I'm a 17-year-old youngster. I'll be playing. My first game was at Abelwood Park. We played against EP, and my debut. So you've got to understand this. I'm playing 4 years of playing cricket for 4 years, and I'm still learning this game and getting to understand this game. But what I did know is that I could bowl fast, and whenever I was in a team, whatever team I played in, everyone enjoyed the fact that I could bowl fast. So yeah, I was. But now I was in a team full of stars, and these were my heroes. I mean, so I get to open the bowling with Said Majid, and great man there was first change. Rusty and Lefty was there, and I was given the ball, and I was told you've got 3 overs to take a wicket, otherwise we're off. Took 3 overs, not for 6, off. Okay. And that Lefty told me. So after 3 overs, didn't bowl again in that innings. Second innings, same thing. Lighty did 3 overs. I took 3 overs. Can't remember what the figures were like. But when I got a second spell in the second inning. But like I said, the ball was pink on one side, so I had absolutely no control of it. I didn't know what the ball was doing, So, but yeah, to me, I was now sitting in the change room, I'm starry-eyed. I'm absolutely blown away by the fact that I'm now sitting in a change room with people like Rusty and Said and Prema and Georgie and so many of them, so many of the great cricketers of the past.
Now, people also won't understand that when you were playing provincial cricket, you had a full-time job. Most of the players did. It wasn't professional as it is now. You had you worked in the dockyard, and it wasn't easy because also you played in the SACOS ranks, which was frowned upon if you worked for white people, for example, for a white-owned company. How difficult was it, to get off from work?
Yeah, look, I mean, provincial cricket was we leave on a Thursday evening, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Sunday. So there was always a work day involved, and I was working in the dock. I hated every minute of it, but I had no choice. I finished that provincial tournament you spoke about, and on that Sunday and the Monday I was starting as an apprentice, and I couldn't say no to it. My parents, I had to go and work, so I didn't have an opportunity to go to university and stuff like it. So there I am working for a company that's against everything that I stand for. And that was my job. And the sad thing about it is I missed some provincial games because they wouldn't give me off. Because you miss one day. You either miss the Monday or you miss the Friday. And then one of the guys who worked with me, he was into karate, and he would get special leave, so because he was white. And that's the type of treatment. The first opportunity I got to get out of there was, I got out of there and I went to work with Prema Isaacs at Old Mutual. So yeah, it was terrible, but it was a job and I had to work. So.
You then spent a season with Transvaal as well in 1985, I think it was.
Yeah.
What took you to Transvaal?
Yeah, although I was playing for Montrose at the time, and I was unemployed, and I was then, Barney Mohammed had moved to Transvaal, and then asked me if I'd be keen to come and play there. I was offered a job in Johannesburg, and to come and play there professionally as well. So I took the opportunity, and I played there 1 year and I came back. So, but it also gave me an opportunity there to spread my wings a bit and play overseas. 86 and 87, played in Scotland for 2 years, which was a massive eye-opener for me. Not just playing, but gave me an opportunity to now get coached. I mean, to all my coaching awards at the National Cricket Association there, so got qualified as a coach and came back and decided I can coach as well.
Now, here was this guy that everybody knew about, Vincent Barnes, taking all the wickets. We had what was then called normal sport, where people were offered the opportunity to be honorary whites on a Saturday as a way of South Africa fooling the rest of the world to try and get back into international sport. Were you ever offered, money or anything like that to come and play on the other side?
Yeah, you constantly people were in your ear about going to play. Funny enough, people in our board that was in our ear, which was sad. But yeah, I got offered a couple of times. People would approach me to come and play, but it was never going to happen. I was at Livingston High School, and through a turbulent time of our history, 76, 77. So there was no ways that I was going to sacrifice, what I stood for, and I stood firm about it. It was not because people forced me to do it. I did it because that's what I believe was right. And today I'm absolutely glad and still happy that I did that.
You mentioned you're glad and happy, you're standing by your principles like just about everybody here. Looking back now, having been exposed to international cricket, any regrets that you didn't have the chance to play at a higher level?
Yeah, look, I can't say it's a regret because I knew that I was never going to play for my country. By the time Unity came, I was on the wrong side of 30, and my focus was now more on coaching. That's where I was going to go. I had no regrets. I enjoyed every minute of the sport I played in the Sackers era, football and cricket. Loved every minute. In fact, I was talking to my fellow Paswoodians today on the group how much sport we play and the toll is taken on our bodies, and we play 12 months a year, but yeah, I got no regrets. I had a full sporting career.
What prompted you to then go into coaching?
Like I said, I always wanted to, because I wasn't coach, I always felt that there was a need for it at the early age already, and then getting qualified in I had a much better understanding of the game, and felt that when I got back from England, I remember Rusty was involved in the mobile coaching, and we then set up coaching clinics, and that's where it started. And I was playing and coaching, and at Unity it just continued. And once I retired, I was sort of forced into retirement because I got a full-time job here at Western Province Cricket Association.
1991 was Unity in South African cricket. The South African team went to India. I think Faik Davids and Hussein Manak were the Yasin Beg were the two players who went as development players. 1992 February, I think it was, we went to the World Cup. Still, you and I couldn't vote. Was that the right decision?
No, absolutely not. Unity came around far too early, and I say so now. It's because I believe so. We weren't ready for that. I mean, I'm talking about us on this side. We weren't ready for it, and we ambushed into it, and that's my personal opinion. If you just think back to what was happening back then, and it was still a white man's sport. We were just making up numbers. Even here at Western Province, players were struggling to get into the province team, and I was fortunate to play still a few years after that. I played 2 seasons on Benson and Edges. but yeah, it wasn't. We weren't ready for that, and but we were. I just feel we were ambushed into it.
How was it? You know, it was quite a bit of animosity between the two sides, obviously because of apartheid, the board and the association. You have unity. You play your first game here at Newlands against Western Province Cricket Club for Victoria. What was the atmosphere like? How difficult was it adjusting to playing with players that you saw as the enemy before?
It's quite yeah, it was chaotic actually, the first game. It was a tough game, but you almost just felt the arrogance of, you know, we played Province Cricket Club here, and the arrogance was just showed throughout the 2 days that we played, and we didn't lose the game. I did lose my cameras and my car keys that were stolen out of the change room.
Which never happened in all the years that you've been in the board.
Absolutely, I lost my camera and all my stuff, and it was stolen out of the change room. But it was quite a chaotic game. I was at that time also the coach of a Bachelor Under 19 Celtic Skull side, and they had left that weekend to go and play in the national championship. So I was torn between what do I do? Do a Captain Victoria inaugural unity game? And so I couldn't go. I decided to rather stay here. I'm glad we didn't lose the game because, you know, we were robbed by the umpires, and we followed on, but we managed to save the game. But a few games later, we were bowled out for 13 by Claremont. I didn't play in the game. I didn't actually play in the game. I didn't play in the game. I wasn't well. But funny enough, the next year we went to club champs after winning the one section. So, but yeah, look, it wasn't easy. It was a tough game we played here. We just felt that, and you got to understand that the way I was brought up and the way I had a Norman Ardens in my team, the way you know, we're not going to stand back here. So it was quite a hectic game, and so a lot of words being spoken and things being said. But yeah, I got through it.
And then you had players from the Western Province Cricket Association, the Macmillans and Gary Kirstens and those guys, and players from the board training together for the first time as well. What was that experience like?
Yeah, look, I think Miley was there. Where's Miley? I think Miley was there. It was, again, I mean, it's just the same thing. I mean, you know, there wasn't a lot of respect shown to our cricketers who are highly talented. I mean, by then, like I said, I was on the other side of 30. But guys like Miley and Nazim White and Dion Kemp and these guys were on top of their careers. You know, they were really playing unbelievable cricket and not being given opportunities now. You know, so it was again, like I said, we were ambushed into this, and to look back, it's quite sad actually that you know, that players like Miley didn't get opportunities that they should have been given. One or two guys eventually, even Faik had to battle to get into that, and Faik was really a world-class player. You know, and I eventually, my last year that I played cricket for Western Province was in the B-side. Myself, Herschel, and Faik with 3 people of colour in the team. So, but yeah, it's even then. I mean, players wouldn't get into recognition.
Now you were involved as bowling coach for the national team, doing various things like biokinetics and biomechanics and all these things. Is it a different game these days?
No, absolutely. The game has moved on from when we played. I think I had stress fractures of the back, stress fractures of the shins, but didn't know what it was, so we just continued playing. You know, if you had a little niggle, you couldn't. Today, somebody got toothache, they don't want to play. So, you know, back then you played through no matter what injury you had. So like I said, I must have had quite a number of injuries because I played football and cricket. I had no break. And but these days it's different. And it's funny enough, I sit now, well, I'm retired. I'm performance manager of Cricket South Africa. But the last few years, I mean, it's, you know, the game is, you know, these days it's all about obviously the technology and obviously from the medical side, it's, you know, players don't just play anymore. It's you got to get prepared. And even a couple of weeks ago, Shukri invited me to his camp he had a bowling and batting camp, and I was invited to it to come and help with the bowlers. And even just preparation for bowlers then, we had one bowler who hadn't really been outdoors, so he wasn't allowed to bowl, because he had to obviously build up, get some overs under the belt and get his body ready to. So the game has changed. It's scientifically, it's a science now. Bowling is a science, and I say so when I bowled, like I said, I just bowled and felt a bit sore, but I said carry on, now it's different, and like I said, but it's been a fantastic road for me, that part of it, as well as being a bowling coach of a national side. Worked with some of the best bowlers in the world, and also saw some of the best bowlers in the world.
Which bowler, having seen his performance and how the bowler has grown, has given you the most satisfaction that you've worked with?
There's a couple. There's a couple that I really enjoyed working with. Shaw Langeveld earlier. I really enjoyed him, and because he was such a skillful bowler, and unbelievably beautiful action. Really enjoyed it. And every other bowler, all of them were different. Probably the best bowler I think that I worked with was Dale Steyn. And the reason why is this was natural. This was somebody I saw as a teenager in Pretoria when I was still coaching way back then as the National Academy coach. And he played against us for the first time I saw him. He was still from Limpopo or somewhere. And he played for the Northerns Academy. It's the first time I saw him, and he bowled unbelievably quick. Bowled 10 no-balls in the game. But I wanted to see a lot more of him, so I invited him to a lot of our games. But it's such a beautiful action. It's such an easy action to work with. But yeah, look.
And was he easy to work with as well? Was he receptive?
Absolutely. He's still one of my best friends. On my retirement, he actually sent a beautiful video message to my retirement party, which was really it was a beautiful message. And him and I have got a great relationship. We're always chatting. When he's just different parts of the world now as a bowling coach, he would tap into my brains, and then Mackay and Tini as well. Mackay was completely different to Dale. Dale took a ball away from the right-hander. Mackay brought the ball back in. Totally different action. But also a beautiful action that you could work with, can understand. It took Mackay just a bit longer to understand his action and what he was capable of doing. I always felt Mackay was always sat on the back foot. He never wanted to take on the role of being the senior in the side, even when we moved on from Sean Pollock and Andre Nel and those guys. And the attack was now Mackay, Dale and Morne. I felt even then that he would sit back and rather let. I said to him, no, you don't just get the new ball to a young lighty like that. It's your ball. No, he swings the ball beautifully. I always felt that he didn't back himself enough. But they were unbelievable, the two of them. I worked at the later stage with Vern, who was probably the most skillful bowler I've ever worked with. But I worked with him here and at a young age. But probably the most skillful.
For those who don't know, Vernon Philander is the person we're talking about.
sorry, Vernon Philander, yeah. No, he was, but it's probably Dale Steyn. It's just that, I just know that there was nothing happening in the game. He'd be bowling here or wherever he's bowling. There's nothing happening in that first spell. I was almost waiting for somebody to nick the ball to third man so that he could swear and turn around and walk back, and we'd know that had woken him up. But we went through a routine I went through a routine with him to prepare him better for matches. Because I always felt that the first 5 overs he was fast asleep, and it was really only after lunch that he wakes up. And so we went through a routine of actually trying to get him to fire, set the tone with the first ball. And so yeah, I did work with some great bowlers. Sean Pollock was he is the most professional out of all the bowlers I worked with. He very, very rigid in his preparation, knew his body inside out. As a bowling coach, I always feel that your job is almost done when the bowler understands his body, what he's capable of doing. And he now comes to me and he said to me, can you have a look at this? I feel this is happening. And I almost feel that the job is almost done with them. Sean was like that. But look, I got Sean at the late stage of his career, so yeah.
Last September, as is mentioned, you and Ashwell Prince started the Barnes Prince Foundation. Just tell us a bit more what you've done in the nearly 1 year now, and what you intend doing in the years to come.
Yeah, it's something that I always wanted to. I always wanted to start this bowling academy. My wife has been on my case for many years about it, and we always felt that because of my job with Cricket South Africa, I didn't have the time to do it. And then, with Ashwell possibly wanting to go the same route, we chatted together, and Ashwell and I've got a hell of a relationship. I mean, he was like a son to me and my wife. I mean, he lived with us, and so we started chatting about it. But then, obviously, COVID struck, so it delayed the whole process. And then, during COVID, we had many meetings, many online meetings about how we want to do this and what the whole strategy was about. And eventually, we decided, right, COVID's a bit behind us now, so let's start this foundation. And the focus has been on providing opportunities now for disadvantaged, for underprivileged, for people that we know where we came from. Ashwell's got a similar background to mine. I mean, his parents also got kicked out of their house, through the Group Areas Act. So he's got an understanding of that, and he's very much, he understands that, and as a Protea player, made his voice heard in the change room. People might not know that. Made his voice heard about politics, about just running people down. He would stand up for them. So it was quite easy for the two of us to start this process and plan it. And there's 7 of us, so we've got quite a number of, besides the cricket people, myself and Ash, we've got some highly qualified people, including my wife in there, and educators, business people, and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, look, it was easy to set up. We've had a lot of interventions, done with various schools, and it's been an eye opener for some. We've done a lot of work in the townships. Been an eye opener. Some of the challenges. It is unbelievable. What schools and clubs face. I've been to 2 functions in probably in the past month. Beaches Plain Cricket Club and Hanover Park Cricket Club. And if I took you who knew absolutely nothing about cricket or the situation in South Africa or in Cape Town, and I took you with me and you sat in those 2 functions, you would actually think, what's the problem here? There's no problem here. So that's the amazing amount of work that people's doing in that 2 clubs, and they face the most challenges in Hanover Park and Beaches Plain. And just last week we had it was supposed to be on Women's Day, we couldn't do it. So we had a women's cricket clinic on last Sunday, and the turnout, it was actually very cold, and the turnout was unbelievable. And it's so easy for someone to wake up and decide that, I'm just going to roll over and go sleep a bit longer. But they came out there. I mean, they came out there. There was a massive amount of cricketers, and they're all women cricketers. Hanover Park Cricket Club is a lot more established. They've got some good cricketers there. They've also lost some good cricketers to other clubs. But there was also 3 other clubs that was invited. 2 couldn't make it. And Eideveld came there, Eideveld Cricket Club. And a lot of the cricketers there, the women cricketers, hadn't played before. So so I'm going from Dale Steyn to watching ladies running there and throw the ball.
Shows how grounded you are, isn't it?
Yeah, but look, I mean, it was such an unbelievable experience. But it did help that the officials and coaches of Hanover Park Cricket Club really got stuck in and made it an enjoyable day and finish off with our acne and start with Sisters, finish off with acne.
Now, this, in the 60s, maybe in the 70s, early 80s, you had clubs having as many as 4 teams, and people played, those who didn't have aspirations of playing at the higher level, played for the enjoyment, for the fun of it. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore, or am I wrong, during your interactions with communities? Are you concerned, or are you encouraged by what you're seeing? Is there still a growing interest in the game?
I think officials definitely, players move around all the time, not only in cricket, all sports, football as well. I mean, I'm heavily involved at Batchwood Football Club, and I see that, you know, the team that's playing now at the moment compared to last year is almost different, completely different. Players move around, they, you know, don't enjoy it anymore, and then just move on. I mean, we were different. It was different then. We just knew that there was a nucleus of players playing for Premier, a nucleus of players playing for United, you know, whoever we played against. But this is, it's no longer the case. Loyalty is, I think there was, you spoke earlier about loyalty. It's no longer happening. And it's really only, like I said, it's really the officials that are working the hardest. Even at my old club, at my club Victoria, you know, and you get relegated. As soon as you get relegated, you lose players. Players don't want to play in that league. They want to play in leagues higher so that they get recognition. So they don't go down with you. It's like with any league. I mean, if a team gets relegated from the English Premier League and they go into the first division, you know, you lose players because you can't afford to keep them. So, you know, it's very difficult to get out of those leagues. Or it won't be much longer. But yeah, look, if you think loyalty, I mean, and that's what I mean. I've got a group of friends that has been my loyal group. I mean, been my friends all the years, and we all play together for Batchwood, and we're still big mates and chat a lot of crap every day. But that's, we didn't have, you know, the riches of. I wish there was a Saudi league then, though, when we were playing, or, you know, a proper professional league.
Yeah, let's just end there with Batchwood just changing tack. I mean, you obviously gain great recognition as a cricketer in the cricket world, but obviously you played for Batchwood, both in the amateur league. You played Western Province board, Batchwood in the professional league as well. And these days, it's either or. You can't play two sports in 1 year anymore. How much did you enjoy playing the football, you know, almost immediately after the cricket season ended, straight onto the soccer field?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of rugby players as well. There was not even a break. It was overlapping. You'd still be playing cricket and soccer, so and rugby and cricket. That's how, yeah, there's overlapping. But absolutely enjoyed it. I mean, if you think back, if I think back today, we were actually talking about it today. It's you play between 50 and 60 football games a season. I mean, if you think about it, you only got 26 weeks in a season, but you're playing 50 to 60 games. It's a lot of football, and then you got training and all sorts of stuff, and then you go straight into cricket. And I always believed that football was for me what gave me the strength and they kept me fit as a bowler. I probably was naturally fit, but football, as far as I'm concerned, kept me. I never worked ever on the upper part of my body. If you see photos of me when I was young, I was skral, really, really thin, and I couldn't believe it. I could bowl fast, but yeah. So it was. But I thoroughly loved it. You know, I would never want to miss a game. So yeah.
Great. Mr. Vincent Barnes, give him a hand.
Just before we let Vincent go, I think it's also important if you can open it up to the floor, or if there are any questions. I think you will take 3 or 4 questions that you'd like to pose to Vinny. Anybody?
Just before we go, the reason why I came here tonight was to honor Aqeel and his great, his grandfather. You said you didn't see your grandfather play. For those who don't know Said Majid, we probably missed seeing, and I'm saying so because I've seen some of the best cricketers in the world. Believe me, I was at the Proteas for 8 years, and I saw some of the best cricketers in the world. I believe that the period that I was involved, there was the golden era of cricket. Every team was very, very strong. The Australians, West Indies were very strong back then. England, and I've seen some of the best cricketers in the world, and obviously some of the South African cricketers that I was involved with. But if Said Majid was, and I'm not saying this because I'm saying it tonight, but if Said Majid was in his prime today, he'd probably be playing. He would have been playing many years for South Africa, and because it's absolutely world class. Somebody in the team that you just although I was there to take wickets, and I can't, as you know, as a bowler too, you don't take wickets in every game. But you just need to know that there's some people sitting in the change room that you just don't need to worry about certain things. And you always just felt that if we lost a couple of wickets up front, there was Saeed sitting there, and once you put the pads on, you knew that he was going to change the game. We had a lot of those type of cricketers in the change room, but Saeed stood out because he would do it. If we were struggling with the ball, he tossed the ball to him, and he'd do the business for you. He was an unbelievable bowler. I've said it so many times, he was my absolute hero. He was an absolute unbelievable cricketer. And absolutely loved playing with him, opening the bowling with him for many years, and learned so much from him. Tough as hell. Even playing off the Unity, still taking on some of the youngsters but like I thought it would be appropriate to let you know that you probably heard this so many times. But it's a great family of cricketers. Rusty was another absolute great. There's so many guys who I played with who I believe would have been playing international cricket for a very long time. Had they had the opportunity back then. We didn't have the opportunity, and I thought I'll let you know that. You've got great genes there, and long may it continue for you.
Thank you, Vincent. Anybody have a question for Vincent?
35-7.
No questions below the belt.
There's a question. Okay. Grant? No, sorry.
Hi, good afternoon, Vinny. Or good evening, Vinny. Question for you with your time as in charge of the High Performance Center. In all of your years, there's sometimes a recipe or an ingredient that some have that others don't. And if you can maybe, just share with us your experience of, the youngsters that has come through the High Performance Center, because not all of them make it, but some do. If you could put your finger on what some of those ingredients are, or were that those who make it have, that those who didn't make it didn't have.
Yeah, it's I was fortunate that I worked with all the top cricketers underneath the Proteas. When I say worked, they fell under my department. I had coaches working in those departments. So the South African A side, the National Academy, SN 19, both men and women, they all are part in my department. But you're right. With the National Academy, even this year's National Academy, I was still with Cricket South Africa when the intake came in there. I say the same thing to them every year that, out of all of you, there's not many of you that's going to make it to the top. But it's up to you. There's not many that's going to make it, but it's up to you. How you want to, where you see your career going, how much effort and time and hard work you want to put into it. So yeah, look, this is like I'm saying, next year's another academy. Where's everybody going to go? So it's we got a fairly young Protea white ball side at the moment, and there's obviously a change in the test team as well. So it's going to take a lot. It's going to take somebody who's going to do something exceptional to replace some of those guys. So yeah, it's tough. So for some of them, they're just going to be ordinary provincial players, and unfortunately, that's the way sport is. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it is a tough environment to be in, but it's cutthroat, and everybody wants to be a Protea, and that's what they say to you, and everybody obviously wants to make a lot of money. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. Happy? Okay.
Anybody else?
I think you want to go home now.
No? Oh, there's so many.
Is Hardy not going to ask a question?
Good evening. Coach, I know football is a big passion of yours, and me being a supporter of the red side of Manchester, it saddens me that one of my heroes supports the blue side. Can you just maybe tell us why that is and what the... I know you're not just supporting now that they're winning everything, so a bit of background, please.
How much time have we got here? Yeah, it's quite interesting, but look, I don't want to bore you with this, but I've been a Manchester City supporter for many, many, many years. In fact, from 1969. Okay, so that's a long, long time ago. And in that period, from now till then, it's it was tough. I mean, it was a real roller coaster ride for me, emotional roller coaster ride. The team was in the second division, but I stuck with the team because that's me. I mean, I've been loyal to Batsu, not really to Victoria, but that's. But it's that's what I've always been. And look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not a wild supporter. I mean, when the Premier League started now a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden the Facebook just goes crazy, social media goes crazy. You know how it is. I'm not like that. I can't be so emotionally involved in a club that I actually got no control of. I've got no control of what Pep Guardiola decides he's going to play. I can't sit there and swear, and when they lose, I want to commit suicide. I've told my brother, who's a crazy Liverpool supporter, I told him that, I mean, he's another level. I mean, he's got a shrine at home there. And I said to him that when he eventually, one day, when he does pass on, I'll ask Liverpool to have a minute silence for him. Because that's crazy. It's not a... but yeah, look, we're in the golden years now, so... and I was fortunate that I could go and watch him in the Champions League final, so in Turkey. So that was another unbelievable highlight in my life.
Thanks, Vinny. Anybody else? No? Okay, thanks, Vinny and Mohammed. I think it was very interesting. We shared lots of thought. Thank you for that. I think the next item on our program is the entertainers. If we could have you back under the under the camera, we would appreciate that. Thanks, Vinny. Come, guys, we're streaming. Ashraf and Adi. Unfortunately or fortunately, you have to come here. Cameras are here. You have to sing from here. I think while I think we let him first have the dessert. Okay, I was thinking.
You're going to complain now. You're going to be in 6 long to go.
I think it's... Okay. I think while the entertainers are gathering themselves, we will have the vote of thanks. I'll call upon Fawzia and Aqeel.
The last speaker for the night, we've heard quite a bit about him. But I remember when my grandpa bought him his first bat. He probably just started walking and was waddling around our yard holding this tiny yellow bat. His love and passion for the game is something I'm sure my grandparents would be so proud of and would be so glad to see all of their friends and family supporting him here tonight. Without further ado, Aqeel.
The organizing committee, respected speakers, honored guests and family. Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all. I must admit to being overwhelmed by and grateful for the show's support tonight. It was also a cherished experience to rub shoulders with some of the greats of the game from our community. Growing up, my conversations with my dad would inevitably center on sport, with cricket being the main discussion. He more often than not spoke to me about the good old days of SACOS and how sport helped to drive togetherness and hope in our communities. How our people rallied in support of one another in various ways during the prevailing political circumstances of the time, and how that culture has continued into contemporary times. Tonight I realize how privileged I am to have a lived experience of the generosity of this culture. A further highlight was to hear recollections of my papa and the heights that he scaled in a suppressive system from his former teammates and peers who I've been so fortunate to meet tonight. All of your challenges are not lost on us youth, and I understand, respect, and appreciate the opportunities that we have today as a result of your struggles. I therefore say with conviction that I absolutely embrace the pressure and purpose of the opportunities, and as a young captain, I'm determined to ensure that my teammates and I shine the light favorably on our routes. My time with my papa, or Scully as my dad would fondly call him, was limited, but enough to have had a connection with him, and as a cricketer, listening to the stories of his exploits makes me appreciate the joy and hope that he would have given to people during his career. He clearly loved and enjoyed the game. More importantly, it is clear that he loved the people he played with and against. For me, this is the biggest takeaway from the stories that I've been told about him, and along with my dad's own experiences during his time with the United Cricket Club, I see that in all its glory here tonight. I therefore wish to start off my vote of thanks with a deep gratitude to the selfless United Cricket Club veterans who conceived and organized this event. If you will allow me, I would like to name these gentlemen, starting with our MC, Mr. Aziz Samai, Mr. Man Dalvi, Mr. Ahmad Kasim, Mr. Muhsin Hendricks, Mr. Tawfiq Abada, Mr. Amin Samsudin, Mr. Hadi Dali, Mr. Ismail Bahadin, Mr. Adnan Muhammad, and then last but not least, Mr. A.K. Adams, who I believe made sure that committee members were always well fed during the lengthy planning meetings. I also wish to thank Mr. Ashraf Burns for arranging the venue, and a heartfelt thank you to the band for the lovely entertainment. A special thank you goes to the event sponsors, starting with Mr. Rashad Pandi, Mr. Sali and Shahida Green, Mr. Jamal Palika, Mrs. Fazlin Kasim, Mrs. Zainab Bahadin, and all the ladies who contributed desserts. Your generosity has no doubt been instrumental to the success of tonight's event. To Imam Rashid Omar, shukran for being here tonight and for the beautiful dua. May the Almighty accept the praise, inshallah. It is no secret that my dad has been my mentor and coach since I showed an interest in sport. He spent countless hours showing me the ropes on the rugby, tennis and cricket fields, to name a few. Throughout this time, he has always been steadfast in his philosophy about sport, in particular cricket. He taught me to love, enjoy and respect the game, and in return he said that the game will reward you with opportunities to learn, improve and grow, by amongst others exposing you to people who will help to further your love for the game, enhance your enjoyment for the game and manifest your respect for the game. This philosophy, I believe, helped me to forge strong relationships with two coaches whose influence I believe I've been fortunate to have had during the course of my journey. Mr. Shahida Donis and Mr. Luciano Adrianza, I'm extremely grateful for the impact you have had on me, and I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to come out in support of the event and of course for the kind words spoken tonight. I am however under no illusion as to the tough words that awaits me at the next practice. Coach Shahid, the word Muppet comes to mind. To Mr. Vincent Barnes and Mr. Muhammad Ali, a sincere thanks for offering your time and for the beautiful recollections of my grandfather. It is heartwarming to know that he was so revered as a sportsman, and in those tales no doubt lies many a lesson for me and my contemporaries. It would be remiss of me not to acknowledge and express a special thanks to a few uncles who are here tonight. These gentlemen have always encouraged and supported me through my journey. They are Uncle Rushdi Majid, also known as Uncle Shamil Isaacs, Uncle Hussein Inglis, Uncle Joey Majid, Uncle Rashad Majid, Uncle Zahir Dali, and Uncle Khalid Miller, who along with my dad played tennis with me as part of my development and showed me no mercy. I also thank Uncle Khalid for the hundreds of tennis balls that he pushed my way for the bowling machine and hit down sessions. I wish to extend a special thank you to everyone that took the time to come out to support this event. It means the world to me. I am motivated to do you proud, inshallah. Last but by no means least, an enormous thank you to my biggest source of support, namely my dad, mom, and my two sisters, Fawzi and Mishka. May the Almighty shine His light on each and every one. Shukran.
Shukran, Aqeel, for your wonderful words. Appreciate that. I think it's now over to the entertainers to entertain us. And whilst they are doing that, dessert will be served. There's a buffer area in the bar area. Please help yourself.
Sonic Dawn, mijn liefheid zal ik haar nog verder schrijven. Ach, liet maar.